What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and in a surprise move, Wizards of the Coast has released a revised version of the Heroes of Krynn as a brand new Unearthed Arcana. Now, I say surprise move, but that's actually not necessarily true. We have seen this in the past where they would revisit perhaps a series of subclasses or feats or something of that nature to say, hey, we didn't quite hit the mark on this. There was a lot of feedback. What can we do to make it better, to adjust, to try and, recalibrate and hit the mark fully? So they've released this to give us brand new access to these Dragonlance stuff. It's not everything. We'll show you, and we'll talk about that in a second when we pull it up. And we're going to do a side-by-side. So we'll have the old one and the new one, and we'll see what changes they made and try to posit it. Maybe they'll even tell us why they made those changes, and we'll see what happens. But before we jump into that, just real quick, this number is at 93.9K. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. As you can see, about half, a little less than half of you who are watching aren't subscribed to the channel, and it is just really one simple click for you, but it does a whole hell of a lot for me. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. So we'll read what they say. This was published this morning. And it says, in today's Unearthed Arcana, we continue our exploration of the character options from the Dragonlance setting. After studying your feedback, we revised the Kender Ace, the Knight of Salamnia, and the Mage of High Sorcery backgrounds, and several feats for characters from the world of Krynn. You can find this new D&D playtest material in the PDF below. The Lunar Magic subclass that appeared in our previous Heroes of Krynn article scored so well that is moving forward in our development process and doesn't appear here. So if you were a fan of the Lunar Magic Sorcerer, rejoice, it seems like your subclass shall arrive more than likely in the Dragonlance book, possibly, or unless there's something planned for the future. We'll release playtest survey on the website soon. Let us know what you think, and then here you can go ahead and read or watch the video where Todd Kenrick interviews Jeremy Crawford. I haven't done that. I'm just going to do my comparison. So on the right, again, we're gonna have kind of issues because my camera is gonna block some of it, but this is the old one. That's why I put it on the right, because I'll block some of it. We've already seen this. The left is the new stuff. So we can see it says it contains Kender backgrounds and feats. Okay, so it looks like if we scroll down, the ability score increases, remains the same. Languages, it looks like that remains the same. Creature type, try to center these a little bit more. Lifespan, looks like that's the same. Height and weight, also the same. Okay, so that's all the same. I was curious if they were going to change any of that stuff, but looks like nothing's different there. So we move into the Kender section. Now, they did actually change, it looks like, the lore bit, which is funny. It says, originally native to the world of Krynn, Kender are diminutive humanoids that look like humans with pointed ears and diverse appearances. They have supernatural curiosity that drives them on adventures big and small. Curiosity is said to be connected to the whimsical magic of the Feywild. Due to their curiosity, they have found themselves falling through gates and portals, other planes, to other worlds. Unknown to most mortals, a magical phenomenon surrounds a Kender. Spurred by their curiosity and their love for trinkets, curios, and keepsakes, a Kender's pouches or pockets will be magically filled with these objects. Now that's different, and it says, during the mythical origins of Krynn, Riorix, a god of, I think that's just probably craft, indulged in an area of unfettered creation. Many people sprang from his divine forge, but not all of them remained as the god created them. Altered by unbridled magic, a group of gnomes were transformed and gifted almost supernatural curiosity and fearlessness. These were the first Kender. And then, originating from the world of Krynn, they're diminutive. Okay, so it looks like it starts to pick up the same language. Sometimes amass impressive collections of curiosities. Some might collect mundane knickknacks or relics from magical sites, while others might become professional thieves. So it looks like they kind of combined a little bit. Here they called them diminutive humanoids. They're flat out saying that they were gnomes, and they're different now. Okay. So creature traits, they're still humanoid. They're still small size. They still have 30 feet of movement. Ooh, whoa, hold on. Hold the phone. Originally, they had Brave, which was basically a rehash of the Halfling ability, advantage on saving throws to avoid or end the frightened condition. Now they have Fearless, immunity to the frightened condition. I don't believe we've ever had a race, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe we ever had a canonical 5th edition race that had a flat-out immunity to a condition, with the exception of the Yuan-Ti having immunity to the poisoned condition, but that has since been changed with the new printing of Monsters of the Multiverse that'll be coming out in a couple weeks from now. So they've just changed that completely. You are now immune to fear. That is very powerful. Okay, they used to have this ability called Kender Ace, which was basically they could pull a magical thing, proficiency bonus times, I think, or was it proficiency bonus times per long rest? They could essentially pull a random thing from a pocket. That looks to have been changed to Kender Curiosity. You now have proficiency. Oh, that is much less interesting. Proficiency in Insight, Investigation, Sleight of Hand, Stealth, or Survival. So it's just a flat-out skill proficiency as opposed to a cool magically summoning a thing. I mean, honestly, having a static proficiency in a skill, probably when you do the numbers on it, is more likely to be useful and beneficial to you because it's something you will have all the time. And that's okay, right? And we're on board with that, and I get that. But I think the Kender Ace ability was fun and unique in and of itself because it added a neat kind of flair that you didn't have before in this reach into a pouch as a bonus action and pull out something random. Now, I also seem to think Wizards of the Coast likes to have things be a little more static and a little less random, so you can kind of rely on things. That's why I think we saw certain things like the Abyssal Tiefling from Unearthed Arcanas of past didn't ever make it into a published source because Abyssal Tieflings kind of got random spells every long rest, and I think they want you to be able to rely on your abilities, not have to just roll and hope you get a good one. Now, they also had a Taunt ability, and it looks like that is possibly changed. So originally, it was a bonus action. You would kind of basically taunt or insult someone, a creature within 60 feet. They'd make a wisdom saving throw based on your charisma and have disadvantage on attack rolls until the end or till the start of your next turn. Proficiency bonus times per long rest. Still a bonus action. Still a 60 feet. It is singular creature. It is a wisdom saving throw. Okay, this is what I was curious they were going to do. Disadvantage on attack rolls until the start of your next turn. That remains the same, but they did give it a little bit more versatility in that it's not locked into charisma modifier. It is intelligence wisdom. The saving throw, rather, is based on your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma stat. You get to pick when you choose the race. And it is proficiency bonus times per long rest. So that's a very simple quality of life change that I am on board for. Good job, Wizards of the Coast. Now, what's also interesting is if you look here, there are changes to, well, no, let's keep going. I mean, don't jump ahead, Ted. Okay. So Dragonlance backgrounds. We'll skip ahead to the background section. It says it presents 2 new backgrounds for your characters from the world of Krynn, the Knight of Salami and the Mage of High Sorcery. If you recall, we had those, but they were much more strict, and we're going to see why. It says when you make a character participating in the War of the Lance, choose one of the backgrounds in this section or select a background from the player's handbook. Bonus feats. Whatever background you choose for your War of the Lance character, you gain bonus feats as detailed below. Characters involved in this conflict are forced into remarkable situations and changed by their experience. So it gives you now feats tied to the background, 2 of them from the looks of it. First level bonus feat. If you select the Knight of Salamnia or the Mage of High Sorcery background, you gain the bonus feat specified in that background. If the background you chose doesn't provide a feat, you gain a bonus feat of your choice from the following list. A parenthesis tells you where to find that feat. Divinely Favored from this document here, Skilled from the player's handbook, or Tough from the player's handbook. Now, this is a very, very interesting concept. So previously, the only time we'd seen feats in backgrounds were in Strixhaven, and then again in this document you see on the right. And it gave you a very specific background. And that was you'd have to take either Knight of Salamnia or Mage of High Sorcery or one of the Strixhaven Initiate backgrounds, and it would give you a feat that it had predetermined. What it's saying here, which I also think is excellent, is that there are basically... It's kind of a wash in that it's not specific to the background, but they're saying basically, yeah, if you select Knight of Salamina or Mage of High Sorcery, you get the bonus feat that comes with that, which is what we're going to look at. But it says if the background you choose, meaning one of the ones from the player's handbook, not here, that doesn't provide a feat, you get a feat instead, so that everybody's on the same playing field. And they're giving you Divinely Favored. Basically, if you're not going to be a knight or an arcane sorcerer, that Divinely Favored is sort of the divine version of that. Or 2 super useful, very basic, powerful feats from the player's handbook. Tough, just extra hit points, or skilled, extra skill proficiencies. That is pretty damn solid, in my opinion. Let's keep going. Okay. At 4th level, now this is new. You gain another bonus feat of your choice. Now, mind you, this is saying this is from the background, folks. This is not what you get at 4th level. Not the one that you can choose to pick at 4th level if you'd like. This is in addition to that. At 4th level, you gain another bonus feat of your choice from either the 1st level list above, meaning one of these 2 here, skilled, tough, or divine ancestry. And that is because if you chose, say, the Knight of Salamnia, you'd get that background, but if you wanted tough, you could get it as well. Or from the following list: Adept of the Black Robes, Adept of the Red Robes, Adept of the White Robes. This is, again, if you're kind of continuing on your sorcery background. Alert from the player's handbook, fantastic. Knight of the Crown, Knight of the Rose, Knight of the Sword, again from this document, continuing your knightly duties. Or Mobile, Sentinel, or Warcaster. Again, the ones in the player's handbook, 4 exceptionally excellent feats to pick. Nobody would be upset to have them, but you know, you could pick and choose. You gain this bonus feat at 4th level regardless of your background. Even if you have the Knight of Salamnia or Mage of High Sorcery background, you must meet any prerequisites that the feat requires. This, folks, for those of you out there who are saying that you wish they separated ability score improvements from feats, that might actually happen in 2024. This is the very early tellings of that. Now, before I continue on, I want to posit this to you because this is a fundamental shift in the way the game is played. And I feel like me wearing glasses just accentuates how much I feel about this. Take them off and talk to you about it. But realistically, think about this. What if in 2024... the new way it goes about it is everybody's background gives them a bonus feat at 1st level and a bonus feat at 4th level. And that, I think we can all agree with the feats structured as they are now, that could fundamentally change and develop your character to play in a way different from any other character at the table, potentially unless you pick the same things. But I could be a paladin and you could be a sorcerer, and we could both pick the same feats and we'd still be able to play the game drastically differently. Getting a bonus feat at 1 and 4, and I think that's enough. If you guys were saying let's separate them entirely, I don't think we necessarily have to do that. But I think if this is the template that we see going forward, this is big. Give everybody a bonus feat tied to their background. Maybe it won't be as simple as kind of broad spectrum as the ones we see here, but we'll use that as an example because that's what we have. And then at 4th level, you get an additional feat. And then from 4 beyond, you get either an ability score improvement or a feat, your choice. And that stays the same. But this could mean, in theory, you could be a variant human, get a variant human bonus feat at level 1, a background feat at level 1, get a feat at level 4, and then a bonus feat from your background at level 4, and you could be, you know, living it up in Feat Town. That was really bad. I'm so sorry. But you understand what I'm saying. You could do this, and if, let's say you wanted to play a fighter, you could then have even more access to more feats and truly build out this well-trained soldier type if you wanted to. Or, again, fundamentally dive into, again, if we look through these knight feats, right? Become a knight, you're a paladin, a fighter, or whatever, you're a knight, right? And you can really focus your skills and your feats that you take going forward, or even the ones from this, into how much of a knight you want to be. And I think that I do think that this is telling as to what we're going to see in 2024 as far as the updated rules go. And I'm all for it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let's dive back in. Okay. So, the Knight of Salamnia background. It still grants you athletics and survival skill proficiencies. It used to give you 1 musical instrument. They have ditched the musical instrument in favor of 2 languages. An insignia of rank, a deck of cards, common clothes, and gold, that remains the same. The feature, Squire of Salami, gives you the Squire of Salami feat, which is still in this document, and it provides you free, modest lodging and food at any fortress or encampment. That remains the same as well. And I think the building the character looks to remain largely the same. I'm not going to read too much into that because, again, this is largely fluff stuff for the background. Again, looks to be the same as we're just kind of scanning here. Same thing with the trinkets. All right, Mage of High Sorcery. Arcana and History, 2 languages. Again, colored ink, pen. Yeah, this looks to all pretty much be the same as far as I can tell. And then you get the Mage of High Sorcery, feat, and then free, modest, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this looks to relatively be the same. So let's continue on to the actual important part, which is the feats. So originally, it's not going to give us... I see. I always liked when they do this, when they kind of give you a little breakdown of what the feats are, kind of ahead of time. They don't give that to us this time. Okay. So first up is Adept of the Black Robes. Now, we know that this has the prerequisite of being a 4th level, and it says Initiative High Sorcery Nutari feat. So we'll have to get to the initiative. Why don't we stop and go to the prerequisite feats and come back? So because Initiative High Sorcery is the first one, why don't we start there? So Initiative High Sorcery it required you originally to be the apprentice of High Sorcery. Now it flat out says you need to be a sorcerer or wizard or a mage of High Sorcery background. So it gives you the opportunity to just be a spellcaster essentially. Okay. You choose one of the 3 moons. You can cast, originally you could cast 1 first level spell, or learn a cantrip and a first level spell based on the moon. You learn 1 cantrip and 2 first level spells based on the moon you choose. You could cast the chosen spell, the first level spell, without a spell slot and finish a long rest before you could do it again. You could also cast it with any slots you have. You can now cast each of the chosen spells without a spell slot. Wow. That is like reverse magic initiate, but better. So instead of getting 1 cantrip and 1 first level spell, you now get 1 cantrip and 2 first level spells from the wizard spell list, it says. Sorry, the cantrip is from the wizard spell list. It didn't actually specify, I don't think, originally. It just said, it scrolled down, it says cantrips here, give you specific lists. Here it's now a wizard cantrip. 2 first level spells. You can now cast those 2 first level spells without spell slots once a day, once per long rest. And then if you have slots, you can cast them again. Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma is your associated casting stat. And again, as we can see, we have removed the cantrip section. So Nutari used to be a first level spell from the Wizard School of Evocation or Necromancy. It's now, okay, so now they changed that from being broad spectrum to being a specified list. So now that is 2 spells from the following list: Dissonant Whispers, False Life, Hex, or Ray of Sickness. Lunatar used to be a first level spell from a Wizard School of Divination or Transmutation. It is now Color Spray, Disguise Self, Featherfall, and Longstrider. And Solinar used to be Wizard Schools of Abjuration or Conjuration. Is now Comprehend Languages, Detect Evil and Good, Protection from Evil and Good, and Shield. In my opinion, looking at that, I feel like probably Solinari wins just for having access to Shield. But I guess the other ones, because I would have chosen other ones based on the opportunity, the schools of magic that they had. But Dissonant Whispers, that could be a way to get it on a character that doesn't have it. Same thing as Hex. And then again, Disguise Self is useful. Again, having some of these just as a freebie that you'd have access to once a long rest, like Featherfall. Also a wonderful thing to have as just an escape button if you need it in your back pocket. I think we'll also jump over here to the Squire of Salami and get this one out of the way since we're going to be referencing it again. So originally, it just required squireship. Now you need to be either a fighter, a paladin, or have the background. It had what was originally martial training, which was proficiency in medium armor and martial weapons. I called that was kind of interesting because you might be able to get proficiency in medium armor without having proficiency in light armor. You also had defensive rider, advantage on saving throws made to fall off, to avoid falling off a mount, and encouraging rally whenever a creature you could see within 30 feet makes a saving throw. You could use your reaction to inspire them, giving them advantage on that saving throw once per long rest. Now you have Mount Up. Mounting or dismounting costs you only 5 feet of movement. For those of you who are unaware or haven't read that rule, mounting or dismounting takes half of your movement speed. Now you also have Squire Maneuvers, a new ability here. You learn the lunging attack, precision attack, or pushing attack from the Battlemaster subclass. The maneuver DC is based on your strength or dexterity, your choice. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can replace the maneuver you learned with this feat from another one from that list. So either lunging, precision, or pushing. And then superiority die. You gain a number... Whoa, hold on. You gain a number of superiority dice equal to your proficiency bonus. These dice are D6s, and you can use them with the maneuver you gain from this feat and any maneuvers you gain from feats that have this feat as a prerequisite. A superiority die is expended when you use it, and you regain all expended superiority dice when you finish a long rest. Now, that's interesting, because it doesn't have language. So, like, what if I play a Battlemaster fighter? I now get superiority, 5, up to potentially 6 superiority dice from my background, but my Battlemaster fighter superiority die have increased as time has gone on, and I've gained additional ones. Here, I gain superiority dice based off my proficiency bonus, but they appear to be locked in as a D6, and I can only use them to power the maneuvers from this feat and anything that gets this feat that uses this feat as a prerequisite, assuming the other ones will likely do so. And you get these ones back when you finish a long rest as opposed to a short rest like you would for the Battlemaster fighter. That is a very strange interaction if you combine the two, because that means that you would have 2 pools of superiority dice. Some come back on a short rest, some come back on a long rest. They're different die amounts, and in theory, you could also learn precision attack from the Squire of Salami, and then you'd also have to learn it with your Battlemaster maneuvers, in theory, because they don't say that, like, you can use this maneuvers interchangeably. I think that's a relatively easy call for a DM to make, but let me know your thoughts. Okay. Okay, I don't think this says anything. No. Okay, so let's go and read Divinely Favored, as that's the last sort of intro feat. A god has chosen your carry to spark a Divine Spark. You learn 1 cantrip of your choice from the Cleric spell list, and 1 first level spell based on the alignment below. Which originally it said, sorry, let's scroll up. It was Divinely Favored was Thaumaturgy, and a first level spell based on the alignment table, and that was once per long rest, and then you can cast it with spell slots you have, and they were limited here. They also sort of combined Divinely Favored with the Divine Communication to give you an additional thing. You can also cast the chosen first, you also learn the augury spell. It says you can cast the chosen first level spell and the augury spell without a spell slot, and you must finish a long rest before you can cast either of them again. You can also cast them with spell slots. It's intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. If you choose the evil alignment, you get a first level warlock spell. It was originally warlock or wizard. If you choose good, it is a cleric spell. It was originally cleric or wizard. And if you choose neutral, it is a druid spell. It was originally druid or wizard. In addition, you can use a holy symbol as a spellcasting focus, which is for both of them. So rather than sort of have Divinely Favored and Divine Communication, which did technically let you have Commune and also increase an ability score, they sort of mushed them into one, giving you a Cleric cantrip, a first level spell based from the list below, as well as Augury, and both of those, again, castable, because it seems like we're going to get this whole two castings. Okay. So we did our Initiative High Sorcery, our Squire of Salami, and Divinely Favored. Let's go back to Adept of the Black Robes. So originally it required the 4th level and that feat and any non-good alignment. They've removed the non-good alignment feature of it. And it originally had an ability called Ambitious Magic. You learn a 2nd level spell of your choice from the Evocation or Necromancy school. You can cast it without a spell slot, and then again, once per long rest, and cast it with spell slots you have. Now it has been replaced with you learn 1 spell slot, 2nd level spell slot, which is still it's now of the Enchantment or Necromancy school. Previously it was Evocation or Necromancy. You can cast this feat with without a spell slot. Once per long rest, and use it with spell slots you have. So that remains the same. So I don't see any differences there. Then you also had the Life Channel ability originally. When a creature you can see within 60 feet fails a saving throw against a spell you cast, you can spend a number of hit dice equal to the level of the spell. Roll a number of hit die equal to half the number of hit die expended. That was always kind of a funky thing, right? Expend a number of hit dice equal to the level. So let's say it's the 2nd level spell. I expend 2 hit die. And then I roll a number of hit die equal to half the number of hit die spent, so I only roll 1, round it up, and then the damage the triggering creature takes increases by that amount. I'm assuming that's what they're going to clean up. When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you fails a saving throw against a spell that deals damage that you cast, you can expend a number of hit dice equal to the level of the spell. Roll the expended hit dice and add them together. The damage that creature takes increases by an amount equal to that total. That is way cleaner and much better, and also more powerful. So the extra 2nd level spell, also very cool, which also, a reminder, could be the bonus feat you get if you choose the high sorcery background. And then you get to basically siphon your life into dealing more damage. Next up is Adept of the Red Robes. Which again, there was no, the prerequisites are basically the same. Originally, you had Insightful Magic, which was a 2nd level spell of the Divination or Transmutation school. That has been shifted to the Illusion or Transmutation school. And as per usual, you can cast it once per long rest and use spell slots to cast it. Originally, it was Magical Balance. When you make an attack roll, an ability check, or saving throw, a roll of 9 or lower on the d20, you can use your with a roll of 9 or lower on the d20, you can use your reaction to balance fate and treat the roll as a 10. This reaction was proficiency bonus times per long rest. Now, it's when you make an attack roll or ability check. It does not function on saving throws, and roll a 9 or lower. You can treat it as a 10. You can balance fate this way, proficiency bonus times per long rest. So all they did for that was just remove saving throw. So that one got a little bit of a nerf. Then the Adept of the White Robes had a non-evil alignment prerequisite that has been removed. It was originally a 2nd level spell of the Abjuration or Conjuration schools that has been shifted to Abjuration or Divination in the final. And then we had Protective Ward. When you are a creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use a reaction to expend a spell slot and weave Protective Magic around the target. Roll a number of d4s equal to the level of spell slot expended and reduce the damage taken by the total rolled on these dice, plus your spellcasting modifier. That has been changed. Let's see. So when a creature you can see, when you or a creature within 30 feet takes damage, you can use a reaction to expend a spell slot and weave Protective Magic. That has been updated from d6s to from d4s to d6s. Roll a number of d6s equal to the level of spell slot expended and reduce the damage taken by that amount plus your spellcasting ability modifier. So that's cool. They just gave it a flat out buff by going from d4s to d6s. I feel like I also would have liked to have seen this use hit dice as well instead of rolling dice based on the spell slot. Expend hit dice to basically use your life force to protect them. I think that actually seems a little bit cooler. All right. We already covered Divinely Favored, Initiative, High Sorcery. We're moving into our Knight feats. First up is Knight of the Crown. Originally, this gave you an ability score improvement of Strength or Dexterity. That has remained the same. You had an ability called Tactical Teamwork. When a creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll against a creature that is within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to grant advantage on that attack roll, proficiency bonus times per long rest, and that was it. So you could basically do that. If someone was making an attack roll, you could give them advantage. Now that had a lot of benefits because anything that triggers on advantage, like a rogue sneak attack, could just be given as long, basically a limited use pack tactics, essentially. they've changed that to be crown maneuvers. Reminder that, again, Squire of Salami was adjusted to be superiority dice. This has kind of been adjusted accordingly. You learn the distracting strike or the goading attack maneuver from the Battlemaster Fighter list. Again, it is based on strength or dexterity. And whenever you finish a long rest, you can replace this maneuver with the other one. So you can swap between distracting or goading. And your superiority, you gain 2 superiority dice, which add to the dice you have from the Squire of Salami feat. All dice are now D8s. So that's, again, interesting, because reminder, you had proficiency bonus number of superiority dice that has now been added to 2. So you'll have 2 plus proficiency bonus, and they all bump up to D8s, which is pretty nice, especially because this is just granted from a feat. And as a reminder, this can be a bonus feat from 1st level and from 4th level, in addition to any other feats you choose to take. Next up, we have Knight of the Sword. Knight of the Sword originally gave you just disciplined spirit, proficiency in intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throws, and an ability called willpower. Immediately after you or a creature within 30 feet of you fails an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma save, you can expend a hit die. The saving throw increases by an amount equal to a roll of that hit die, potentially turning a failure into a success. And then once you use that feature, you need to finish a long rest. You now get an increase to your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1, which is a nice change. You also now, again, reminder, we've changed, so we now have sword maneuvers. You learn maneuvering attack or menacing attack. Again, this seems to pretty much be the same. You could swap it on a long rest. You get 2 superiority dice to the pool you already have from your Squire of Salami feat, and all dice are now D8s. So I don't believe, reading how that's written, I think it's written in such a way that you couldn't take all of these feats to just get a ridiculous amount of superiority dice. Because if you read it, it says you gain 2 superiority dice, which add to the dice you have. I guess actually no. I guess it could, right? So the dice you have from your Squire of Salami feat. So if I took Knight of the Crown as my bonus feat at 4th level, and let's say I'm a Battlemaster Fighter, we'll go hardcore on superiority dice. At 6th level, or even at 4th level, when I get another feat, I could, in theory, take Knight of the Sword. And we'll read that little blurb at the end in case it changes it, but I could, in theory, take Knight of the Sword, get a 2 additional superiority dice, and then since I was a fighter, when I hit level 6, take Knight of the Rose and gain 2 more. Again, I don't think it's designed to do that, but that would actually be pretty interesting. All right, and then again, the last one here is Knight of the Rose. Originally, it gave us a +1 to our Constitution or Charisma score, and it gave us Bolstering Rally. When you roll initiative, you can choose up to 3 creatures you can see within 30 feet. Each creature can gain temporary hit points equal to a roll of your hit die, plus your proficiency bonus, plus the ability score that you increased with this feat. And this ability was usable proficiency bonus times per long rest. You still get that +1 to Constitution or Charisma, which is nice to see. But then you get Rose maneuvers. Again, they're tied to that. You get the Commander Strike or the Rally maneuver from the Battlemaster subclass. And again, same thing that we've seen so far. You can change it out on the short rest. You gain 2 superiority dice, which add to the dice from your Squire of Salami feat. And all of those dice are now D8s. And again, we still have this membership in multiple knightly orders. Knights of Salamnia are only ever members of one of their organization's orders. In the course of their training, most knights begin as members of the Knights of the Crown and then move on to other orders. Whether a character follows this path or another, they retain what they learned as a member of an order even if they join another. Characters can change their what knightly order they're a part of, but they always have access to any Knight of Salamnia feats they've acquired. So that answers my question. So in theory, I could be a Battlemaster Fighter with the Squire of Salami feat getting proficiency bonus number of superiority dice that are a d6. Then as I begin to level up, I could get an additional 6 superiority dice. Those now, so at a maximum, I would have 6 as my proficiency bonus, plus the 6 from the feats. So a total of 12 d8 superiority dice that I could use on this limited pool of maneuvers that recharge on a long rest on top of my Battlemaster Fighter superiority dice that recharge on a short rest. That could be a very interesting, very cool character. So many different maneuvers, it would be a lot of upkeep, let's be honest, because you'd need to know which pool is which. You'd have to have some sort of tracking device. And then also, again, know that, like, oh, I only know these maneuvers as a knight, not as a battle master fighter, which once again is weird because I feel like if I can figure out how to do precision attack from the Squire ability, I should be able to use that for my battle master. I shouldn't have to train it twice. Does that make sense? So I feel like as a DM, I would allow that. And then the real question is, as a DM, would you allow them to pool all of their superiority dice into one mass superiority die pool, bumping up the dice to a higher number? Or would you keep them separate so that you can deal with the concept of these are long rest and these are short rest? It's very interesting. I like to see what they're doing. I can also already see this going one of two ways. I can see people in the comments complaining that they're making Battlemaster Fighter less original by removing its sort of unique ability and making it just accessible to basically anyone via a feat. And now that feats can be tied to backgrounds, basically to anyone at all with no real training, as it were. I can also see people being upset, on the other hand, of we're just rehashing Battlemaster. We had cool, unique abilities before that were specific to this, whereas now we're just reskinning something we've already had rather than inventing new things. And I can also, I can agree with both of those arguments, and there may be people that just love it as it is and they just accept it, which is also fine. Like I said, getting an extra 12 superiority dice, although limited use, as a Battlemaster would be quite interesting. You'd be able to do a lot more of what it is Battlemasters do. So I do appreciate that. And that's not also stopping you from taking the Martial Adept feat to get even more Battlemaster superiority dice as well as maneuvers. So there's a lot of options there for sure. It just, again, depends on how you want to handle the different pools of dice. But I liked they were diving into this whole concept of using hit dice in unique and interesting manners. We still see it a little bit in the Adept, the Black Robes, but they had the hit dice being used by the Knights, and that was kind of a cool new way they were looking to evaluate hit dice as a mechanic, and they basically got rid of that entirely in favor of Battlemaster superiority dice, which I'm okay with, but I hope we don't lose sight of the hit dice mechanic, which I guess the simplest way to do it would be to do kind of what I said for the Adept of the White Robes, rather than them just using a pool of d6 for expending hit dice. Let them roll, instead of spending burning spell slots, let them roll hit dice instead. That could be pretty interesting. But that's just my piece. This was a relatively long video on top of a relatively long video I released already today. But there was a lot to cover and a lot of interesting implications about what the future of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons could be based on what we see in this Unearthed Arcana. But again, that's enough from me. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, and I will see you all next time.